UFC 281, one of the most exciting cards I've seen in a long time. This card had 9 finishes in total, 7 knockouts. Just about every single fight was really exciting. First fight of the night, we had Carlos Ulberg versus Negumereanu. Ulberg fighting at a city kickboxing. He threw a lot of leg kicks, which kind of immobilized Negumereanu and set him up for that huge left hook and the big right hands that put him out cold. We had Mike Tricianu versus Chung Woo Soy, which was a crazy fight. Double knockdown in the first minute of the fight. Ended in a huge knockout in round 1. This was an amazing fight. Matt Rivola got the huge knockout against Otman Zaitar. I mean, this card was just insane. We saw the hype train for Molly McCann get a little bit derailed, but even after a loss, she's one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC, and I know I'm not just speaking for myself when I say I still can't wait to see her back in the octagon. We had Dan Hooker finally get back to his winning ways. Dan Hooker is definitely a guy who I'd love to see in that UFC Australia card in February. And then there was Frankie Edgar's last fight. That was a tough one to watch. He got knocked out cold. Father Time's still undefeated at 41 years of age. It looks like he's just plain too old. I mean, he does look competitive in the cage against the last few guys he's fought, but after taking that many blows to the head, you just end up getting a little chinny. Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. That was a tough fight to watch, man. Dominic Reyes' career has kind of been tough to follow lately. All of his last fights have been rough. He has one of the more confusing career arcs in the UFC. This guy was completely unstoppable, beating everybody. He was undefeated, going all the way to the title, and gave Jon Jones his best test. I think there's a really good argument to make that he beat Jon Jones. And to see him going from that to getting knocked out by Jan Blachowicz and then getting knocked out by Jerry Prochazka bad, and then now after taking all this time off, getting put to sleep by Ryan Spann, it kind of sucks to watch, man. He's a guy who had all the potential in the world, and I think that a lot of people are saying that the Jon Jones fight is what kind of threw him off of his track, but I disagree. I think that he was fine coming from the Jon Jones fight, but that first big knockout by Jan, I think that might have caused him to get a bit chinny after that, and then going right in there with Jerry Prochazka with the huge spinning elbow knockout, that's another rough one. I think that maybe his brain's just kind of had all the punishment it can take at this point. I don't know what's next for him. I honestly don't. It'll be interesting to see if Dana decides to keep him around. Obviously, he can compete at the highest level. Besides the Ryan Spann fight, all the fights that he's lost lately, Jon Jones, long-time light heavyweight champion, light heavyweight GOAT, Jan Blachowicz, light heavyweight champion, even defended the belt against Adesanya, and then Jerry Prochazka, UFC light heavyweight champion. So it's hard to say that the guy's washed. I mean, he's losing to the best of the best, but man, the brain can only take so much, and it's really hard to watch. The last 3 fights of this card were just pure entertainment. I mean, each one of these fights could have been a main event on their own. Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler, which was an insane matchup, which definitely delivered. That fight was just pure fireworks. After a fight like that, obviously there's a winner and a loser, but to the fans, no one lost, you know. We got to see a really exciting fight, one of the best matchups that could have been made at 155. Co-main event, Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili. I knew from the start we were going to see Zhang Weili just dominate. She's the better athlete. She's probably the best athlete at strawweight, but honestly, she has an argument to be made for the best athlete of all the female fighters. And then the main event, if you watched my last video, which you didn't because it only got 1 view, but still, if you watched that video, you'd know that my prediction, not to brag, was completely accurate. Fight ended up being a kickboxing fight, and that was a great fight. Lots of good back and forth. Overall, this card was absolutely insane. I'll get more into the Michael Chandler Dustin Poirier fight, as well as the Israel Adesanya versus Alec Pereira fight in another video. Meanwhile, let me know in the comments what you thought about this card. I think that this is one of the best cards I've seen in a long time. Probably the best card I've seen this year. And just off the top of my head, I honestly cannot name another card I've seen that was this entertaining. With all the finishes, all the big name fights, all the crazy matchups, and in Madison Square Garden, this card was insane. I'd say the only other card that I can think of off the top of my head that kind of rivals this is their first time in MSG, because that card was completely stacked and we got to see one of the, if not the most iconic moments in the sport of MMA when Conor destroyed Eddie Alvarez. But let me know in the comments what you think. How did you feel about this card? I think it was absolutely insane. And card of the year, that's what I'm saying. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.